up? I'm Micah. This is my little brother Chris.
Hey.
Filling in as producer. So I had like a bunch of questions for you. It seems like you kind of came out of the blue as an MMA fighter, getting this sort of mainstream coverage like a few weeks before Dana White's Contender series that you were on a little bit ago. They started kind of hyping up the fight, and they're like, oh, there's this skinny 18-year-old kid who's got this high-level jiu-jitsu. And then the fight was just, it was bananas. This back and forth crazy fight. That was probably the wildest one Dana White's had on the Contender series. How did it feel getting in there and being in a scrap like that with, all the eyes on you too?
A lot of times, like during the fights, I don't feel too much. Like it's pretty relaxed and like laid back. There was definitely like I don't want to lose this, but every fight for me is kind of similar. Like I don't want to lose.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't really like think about the stakes of it, but they were definitely a lot higher.
Yeah, for sure. So, how did you get into MMA? Did you start with jiu-jitsu?
Yeah, my parents started me doing jiu-jitsu and kind of like kickboxing type of stuff when I was 8 years old, and then I kept doing it, and then slowly added more stuff and stuck with it.
Nice. So the build up to the Contender series from starting martial arts and then all the way up to that. How long was that? It couldn't have been that long.
The build up from like being a little kid to like the Contender, or
yeah. How did you go from starting to take martial arts seriously and competing, and then all of a sudden you're on this big stage?
I didn't really like. I don't know. I just kind of did it like as a kid up until I was probably about like 12. Then I started taking it more seriously, and then yeah, I just kept going. I was like, oh, maybe I want to fight. I went down when I was 16, I think, and did Pan Ams for jiu-jitsu, and I won that down in California. And I was like, oh, now I want to try MMA because I kind of like competed at like a high level for jiu-jitsu, and I wanted to start doing more MMA stuff. And then I think, yeah, I had my first amateur fight probably not even 2 years ago yet.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. It was like a couple weeks after I turned 17, I think.
That's crazy. When I was 17, I was freaking out about high school soccer games, not getting into a fight. That's awesome. So, you train with Control Squad?
Oh, so CTRL is just
CTRL?
one of my sponsors.
Okay. I wasn't sure about that. Okay, gotcha. What team do you train with?
Combat Sport and Fitness in Enumclaw. My coach is Jeff Oglin. He was in UFC for a little bit.
Oh, nice. How did it help having someone that's been there kind of guide you to your first kind of big fight?
It took a lot of like the pressure off because it was like he kind of knew like how stuff went, and like a little bit of it because he was like, hey, I don't know what's going on with this. This is like a completely different thing. He was in UFC before they had the Reebok deal, so it was like a different type of organization back then. But yeah, it was helpful to have somebody to kind of like guide me through there and be like, hey, this is probably what's gonna happen first. They're gonna like drug test you before the fight, so you gotta stay hydrated and like little stuff like that.
Gotcha. So in that fight, do you remember much of what happens in fights? I know a lot of fighters say it all kind of goes blank and they just go for it. Or do you remember kind of the sound of the crowd, the back and forth, just all that?
A lot of the times I can't really like hear too much, or at least I'm not focusing on the sound as much. Like I never really remember like hearing anybody's voices aside from like my coach and whatnot. I have little like little moments like probably like the beginning of the second round where I was like, all right, fuck it, I gotta kind of go for it a little more. And then like little things like that where it's like little thoughts.
It's funny you say that because I think watching the fight, you can see that sort of fuck it moment. The first round was kind of rough for you, and then you came out and just, you put a pace on him and put so much pressure.
For sure. My coach and I were talking about it the other day. It's kind of like it's like kind of like an ace up your sleeve that you don't necessarily want to use all the time, but like, the ability to get beat up a little bit and then like come back.
Yeah,
I think that was definitely part of it.
yeah. It seemed like he started to lose energy a lot quicker than you, which is surprising. It's like he sort of hit as he hit this block of I'm tired. You hit this block of oh I'm ready to go.
Yeah. Yeah, my coach called me like a slow starter sometimes. I think that might have been part of it, and then yeah. Yeah, I'm sure the like throwing everything he had at me and then not being able to finish it was a little demoralizing too on top of it.
Hmm. So going into that fight, did you know much about his name's Kanan? I can't pronounce the last name, but did you know?
Yeah, the producers had to like help me pronounce it. It's Kanan, yeah.
Okay.
Uh I didn't really know too much. My coach kind of I don't like to watch the videos because it kind of like gets me more like stressed out than I need to be. But like I knew the basics. Like he's a long, also kind of left-handed guy who's got good jiu-jitsu, and he's Hawaiian, so he's down to throw down. And I just kind of yeah use those little basic things to kind of tailor my camp to it.
Nice, nice. So you got a developmental deal, which is sort of a new thing with the UFC. I think they've given out a couple of them, which I think is a great idea because you got all this great talent outside the UFC, and you don't want to throw them into the top 10 or anything yet, but you want to bring them up, get them enough fights and experience. What all does that entail going forward? Do you know like where you'll be fighting or what you'll be doing?
So I'm kind of I think the UFC's being like as hush hush as they can about the details, but like we just talked to him a little bit ago, they essentially want me fighting on like Fight Pass type of shows. And then like I don't know if you saw it, but they put up something about like Greg Hardy fighting again. I think it's gonna be a similar thing like that where they're gonna kind of like put my fight on Fight Pass and then promote it a little bit. They actually wanted me to fight that same day, but I think it was like we hadn't signed the contract yet because I think the lawyers are still working on it or whatever, something on their end. And so yeah, he took my spot on that, but I'm looking forward to seeing what all it entails myself.
Gotcha. So they keep it hush hush. That's interesting.
Yeah,
I guess they probably don't want to commit to anything, especially as it's kind of a new program they're doing.
for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So looking forward, like looking at the UFC, is there anybody you sort of looked up to or modeled your game after, or anybody you have wanted to fight for a long time?
Oof. I don't know. Uh, I always liked Damian Maya and the Diaz brothers because they're both, like solid jiu-jitsu, just like me. And I want to kind of like get my striking up to that Diaz level where it's kind of, you know, either stand or go to the ground with me. I'm good wherever. And I love Damian Maya's just like focus, like intense focus on jiu-jitsu and kind of it's a super high level. For my hair for that fight, I definitely, focused on my boy Sugar Sean on his sweet fro.
Yeah, the fro sells, dude. The fro looks good in a fight until you get hit and it just like moves.
Yeah,
It looks like it's way worse than it is.
yeah, I trimmed it up a little bit. I gotta keep it classy.
Nice. So what was going back to the transition from jiu-jitsu to MMA? What was that like? I mean, you're a young dude. You were, what, 16 at the time, telling your parents or your girlfriend or your friends, it's like, hey, I've been doing all this grappling. Now I'm going to go and do cage fights. What was that like?
I mean, I kind of grew up with it, so like a weekend event would be like going to watch some of the guys at some like fight show that I could get into. So like my family was kind of like they knew about it and they weren't like super blindsided by it. They kind of assumed I'd go into something like that. They were pretty supportive for sure.
That's awesome. Did you have like a pro fighter in your gym or someone you're sort of being mentored by, or is that, I guess, mostly your coach too, since he's already made the walk in the UFC.
For sure. I was like, I started off as like the small guy in the class or whatever for like MMA. So it was like me with a ton of, at like 15, I think I started doing MMA, at least with all the other guys. With like, 20-year-old, 25-year-old dudes. They were all kind of like helping me out.
Nice. So I guess we can move to some stuff outside of fighting. So how is it? I mean, getting through school and sort of regular social life, and then blending that with the career in mixed martial arts.
Uh, I don't know. I was kind of always like the quiet, nerdy kid, so I never really like went out of my way to talk to people. Now it's weird because like people go out of their way to try to talk to me, and that's like, I don't know. Still trying to figure out all the ins and outs of being a social individual. That's it's taking some time.
Yeah, that's got to be different because, I mean, the fight they put it on YouTube like a month ago. I think it has over 1 million views already. I mean, that's a lot of people who now know who you are, or at least know who you are as a martial artist.
For sure.
What's that been like? Sort of getting that attention as a fighter, and having a big win like that.
It's definitely like it lets me know I'm going in the right direction. It's kind of cool, but also kind of awkward when like people will come up and be like, "Oh, you're that kid from UFC fight or whatever." I don't know. Like it's weird having people come up in the store. I'm just trying to, buy some groceries or something.
Yeah. Have you gotten a lot of that?
Yeah, a couple times. I don't know. Very awkward for me.
Yeah.
Not used to that type of attention.
Yeah, that's got to be different. I mean, you're pretty recognizable too, especially if you keep the fro big. It's like, it's hard to miss.
Yeah, for sure.
Has anyone ever mistaken you for Sean O'Malley?
Yeah, actually, the Vegas commissioners or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Like when you do weigh-ins, you have to sign some paperwork with them, and they like talk to you or whatever. But one of the ladies was like, "Hey, weren't you on last season?" I was like, "No, that was a different guy."
At least he got a couple face tattoos, so unless you go that route, at least you guys will look a lot more different now. That's a random question. What do you think about all that? The kind of the fashion and different stuff that's moving into MMA. I mean, you got like Sean O'Malley, who's this pot smoking, face tatted dude. You got different interesting things with kids coming up. Like, how does that feel like for you, kind of being part of this new, different generation of fighters?
I don't know. You just gotta find like your niche. Like, there's just so much going on, like so much media wise, so many like different fighters that you gotta kind of like find something to like stick out, and like even just outside of fighting, you can't just be a fighter. You gotta, like, at the end of the day, this is entertainment. Like, you gotta entertain people. You gotta like want people to like you, or at least watch you fight, either to get beat up or to win.
Mm.
And yeah, I think that's just like another aspect of it that's kind of developing. Like, I think it's like the NBA that has something similar, like where people are just like walking into the locker rooms with whatever like weird outfits they got on.
Yeah. So, is there anything outside of MMA you're working on? Sort of any other sort of joint ventures? Anything to kind of go along with the career?
Oof. I'm trying to like branch out as much as I can. If I could, be like Ronda Rousey and be in a couple, like C-list action movies, that'd be sweet.
Yeah, for sure.
No, I've had some people trying to talk me into like streaming and like Twitch, but I don't think I'm that good. So I don't think I can get into streaming very well. I don't know. I'm just trying to diversify like as much as I can and get myself out there as much as possible.
I feel it. Nice. So what games do you play?
I used to play Rainbow Six Siege for a long time, but then I got a girlfriend, and then now I don't have time to be good.
Yeah. That's probably not a bad thing, though, right?
Yeah, Yeah, definitely don't have the time I used to have.
How was that? I noticed during the fight they're like panning over to your girlfriend and like your family and stuff. Like, how was it going back and seeing like the looks on their faces after the fight?
Oh, it was funny. That was my girlfriend's like first time ever watching me fight, so that was probably not a good one for her to see.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it was funny though. It's a lot easier to watch it when I know the result.
Yeah. I've heard too that the gym there is in the Ultimate Fighter gym is really hot, like 90 degrees or something. Was it difficult? Do you think that played a part in sort of starting off a little slow? Did it throw you out of your rhythm at all?
Oof. I don't know. I feel like the warm weather usually helps me warm up pretty well, but I don't know. I think I went like right from like the piss test to like warming up because that was the first fight, so I didn't get a super long warm up or anything.
Mm,
Um, that could have been part of it, but I don't feel like the heat bothered me too much.
gotcha. So with with the UFC in the 45-pound division, do you think you'll be in the 45-pound division by the time you get there, or are you still growing?
Oof. I think I'm gonna be able to make 45 for a long time. Like when I thought I was gonna be fighting this Saturday, I believe. When I thought I was gonna be fighting this Saturday, like I started my dieting down, started my cut, and I got pretty close to where I'd be able to cut water in like a week.
Oh wow.
So it's not too bad. Um, I think I'll be able to make 45 for a while, but we'll see once I start like growing a little more if I need to move up.
What do you walk around at, like 165?
Yeah, 65. I don't think I've gotten back up to 65 yet from contender.
Oh yeah. How long does it take you to sort of diet down? Do you do it just sort of through the camp, or do you start that earlier?
Well, contender was actually my first time making 145.
Okay.
Yeah, so that was a little scary. But I dieted down. I probably took longer than I needed to because the last time it only took me like a week to get to where I wanted to be. But for that, I took like a month and then ended up like get down to like a decent weight, then eat and kind of like get back up a little bit, then keep going back down and just kind of like slowly descend.
It's probably better to do it that way than I've heard some guys. They say their water cut isn't that bad, but they diet so hard during camp that their energy's gone and just they don't quite feel right.
Yeah, I've had that before. That sucks a
Yeah, I
lot.
can imagine. So where were you fighting before the Contender Series? Kind of locally, or are there different shows around the states you were getting into?
Yeah, just fighting locally. Um, we got a decent number of like local shows out here in Washington. So I think the farthest I drove for a fight was like an hour or two.
Nice. I hear a squeaky toy there. Do you have a dog?
Yeah, I got a German Shepherd puppy right before contender.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, yeah, the dog actually contributed to me having like $30 in my bank account when I fought.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's rough. You hear about that a lot. Guys getting their kind of big break right as the bank. All right, we good. All right, sweet. Sorry about that. That's never happened. I don't know. There's always like a new little technical thing to deal with every time.
yes. I don't know. I've never had that either.
Yeah, the weather's a little bit rainy, so that could have contributed.
Yeah, you probably know a thing or two about rainy weather. How's the weather there right now?
It was pretty nice today, but usually it's just like clouds. It sucked this summer because we had like a lot of wildfires or something around, so it was
Mm.
all like smoggy.
Oh yeah, that's got to be tough.
Man, sucks because I can't like go outside. It's just stay inside and be boring like the rest of the year.
How bad is the smog? It really affects you physically?
No, I haven't noticed anything, but probably because I'm like, I just turned 19, so I'm sure my body can handle a lot right now.
Yeah, true. Yeah, true. I saw that fight too. You could probably handle yourself all right. Um, so outside of fighting, like what keeps you busy? Is it mostly sort of family time and all that, or do you have any? I mean, do you even have time for hobbies?
Uh, I'll play video games a little bit. I like going out like hiking and stuff, like just seeing what's around. Cause I live like an hour away from the closest state park, so that's sweet.
Oh, nice.
Um, Hanging out with my girlfriend and my dog, buying clothes, I guess, and then yeah, going to Seattle, which is always nice.
Nice. So, yeah, speaking of your girlfriend, what was the reaction after the fight? Was it relief, or was she like hyped up, or what was that like?
She was pretty happy for me. She was a little teary-eyed still, just a little bit, and yeah, I was like, oh, sorry, you had to watch that.
Yeah, that's got to be tough. We had talked to Bryce Mitchell, who was on The Ultimate Fighter a little while back, and his girlfriend also fights and goes by the wife beater. I don't know if your girlfriend's probably not at all like that.
No, not quite. I got her started doing jiu-jitsu and whatnot, but I know about the fighting yet.
Yeah,
I don't know if I can convince her to do that.
that would be crazy. So you're talking about sort of looking up at the Diaz brothers a little bit. Have you gotten into sort of that style of boxing yet?
We got a boxer that's coming through our gym now. He's like super high level. I'm having him help me with my striking a lot right now. Yeah, I'm trying to like figure out how to use my length and kind of work on my footwork and whatnot, timing and everything like that.
Yeah, you've got a pretty decent reach, right? Is it?
Yeah, I think it was like, I don't remember what they said, like 72, 74, something like that.
Oh yeah, for the weight class, that's pretty great. So are you thinking you'll start implementing like kind of more of the rangy striking? Is that sort of the next step?
For sure. And then a lot of like working on when guys are like trying to pressure me. Because like in the fight, I've watched it back a little bit now and kind of like knowing like what I did wrong. It was a lot of like moving like straight back when I should have been taking angles and like not setting stuff up like I should have.
I feel it. So I guess we hit a little over 20 minutes. If you want to hang around, that's cool, but I can let you get going too.
Well, I'm good with whatever.
All right, cool. I'll ask a couple more questions though, just some things I'm curious about. So coming up when you first started in martial arts, like what sort of who inspired you? Was it someone like Bruce Lee or Anderson Silva, or was there any sort of catalyst as a kid that was like, okay, this is who I want to be like?
Oof. It was probably more my coach than anything. He's like he probably was like one of like the role models that I grew up with. Because I'd never really had anybody that was kind of like that in my life. I was like a super strong like male role model like that. So it's not in that way.
When you started training, were you with him pretty early then?
Yeah, he was my first coach and my only coach. So.
Oh wow, so he's bringing on sort of the next generation of UFC fighters.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. So, are there any other people you're training with that are your age, or are you mostly still with the older guys?
We got some younger guys that are coming in. Like we got these brothers. One of them's 21, the other one's 16. They're getting pretty good. I think they're starting their like amateur careers pretty quick.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but it was really like there was nobody that kind of came up with me that was my age or anything. So it was always me kind of like, trying to get after it with the bigger guys who are older and, could just beat me up real easy.
I guess that's a good test of how tough you are if you keep coming back.
For sure.
Yeah. Well, thanks for doing this, man. I appreciate it. It's great talking to you, and good luck with everything going forward. We'll be watching.
Yeah, thanks for having me.